Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar, Managing Your Job with AI Mapped 360 Photos. This event brought to you by Engineering News Record is sponsored by OpenSpace. Job site documentation is a pain. It's manual and time consuming. But new visual documentation tools are using AI to create faster, simpler ways to document work completeness and quality. They're also helping prevent costly disputes and rework, and making job site management easier overall. In today's webinar, we'll hear about the technology behind these new advances, as well as how leaders at the Beck Group and WeWork are using passive job site documentation to improve accountability and productivity in the field. Today's webinar is sponsored by OpenSpace, one of the leaders in this new exciting area. OpenSpace's 360 passive job site documentation uses AI to capture and automatically map photos to project plans. The OpenSpace team comprises both successful machine vision entrepreneurs, 3 MIT PhDs who have built and sold previous companies, and construction veterans. Half the OpenSpace team has worked on the job, some for a decade or more. To date, OpenSpace has helped GCs, project teams, and VDC managers capture more than 100 million square feet in just 9 months. OpenSpace didn't create the technology in a vacuum. They worked hand in hand with construction teams to define the right tools and features needed to help today's builders. One of those must-haves is an integration with ProCore, which we'll hear more about later in the session. OpenSpace's customers are wide-ranging, including strategic partnerships with Tishman Speyer, JLL Suffolk Construction, WeWork, and many others. We'll be hearing firsthand from some of those strategic partners and customers today. Specifically, Grant Hagan, who is a virtual design and construction manager at the Beck Group, and Maddie Reed, a senior construction technology lead at WeWork. As I mentioned before, we'll also hear from Eric Tucker of ProCore and one of OpenSpace's founders and CEO, Jeevan Kalanithi. And now I'm happy to turn it over to Jeevan to kick us off. Jeevan?
Thanks, Derek. Hello, everyone. So we're going to spend most of our time hearing from Maddie and Grant. I just wanted to introduce the agenda. First, we want to answer the question, why even do visual documentation? Talk a little bit about why traditionally it's been difficult to do well, and introduce new technology, 360 photos combined with automation, that make this problem a lot easier. And more than that, they help solve a lot of problems that were heretofore impossible without the technology that exists today. I'm excited to have both Grant and Maddie talk about their experiences with these systems, and we'll be also demonstrating how the systems work and also previewing some and announcing some new technologies and features that we're pretty proud of at OpenSpace. Our focus as a company is really what we hear from the field, which is all about simplicity, ease of use, and most important, speed. So we hope you get a taste of what all that looks like from both Maddie and Grant. And finally, we've got some new integrations with ProCore, and excited to hear more about that from Eric. So with that, I want to quickly talk about why photo documentation is important at all. But first of all, it's generally required in almost every building contract that exists. The AI templates generally require this for obvious reasons, pictures with 1,000 words. And this has been true for a long time. I mean, photos provide ground truth, which helps manage risk throughout the job and long beyond it. What's exciting is these new technologies not only help you check that box, but they can help you do a lot more in terms of just managing the job on a day-to-day basis. And so that's why it's important. And we're interested eagerly to hear from the folks that are actually using it. So I'm going to hand it over to Maddie at this point.
All right, thanks, Jeevan. This is Maddie Reed with WeWork. So we've used OpenSpace and seen many benefits throughout the project lifecycle. So I'll just name a few. So first of all, photos provide the ground truth for us. We're also able to track progress over time. This helps with giving context to our coordination meetings, facilitating field-to-office communication, which is extremely important to WeWork with many locations around the world. It also helps facilitate payouts, improves our QA/QC process, helps us reduce risk and liability claims, and it's increasingly a project requirement. For us, we're trying to roll this out on more of our projects. We're seeing the benefits. They're becoming pretty obvious, and it's becoming a staple on our projects. So some of the photo documentation challenges that we're seeing, this is part of the reason why we've started to look into OpenSpace as a solution. So some of the traditional documentation challenges with typical camera, phone documentation, it's frequent, easy, but we notice that it's very poorly organized. You'll get some disparate information, and it's not up to the quality standards that we're looking for. This is self-perform, but it's not always organized and up to our standards. We can also outsource or hire a third party to document our space for us, but we notice the quality is high, but it's often very expensive. And then 360 photographs from our self-perform team. We notice that this is pretty high labor cost, and we're getting, at least our previous workflow, we were getting pretty sparse coverage. So this is kind of forced us to look at our workflows and kind of pursue other options. So I'll talk a little bit about the benefits of the 360 plus automation workflow, which we're seeing with OpenSpace. So as WeWork's construction branch grew, our need for better project documentation grew with it. We began examining our options and testing the available solutions. And ultimately, we decided to move forward with OpenSpace as it showed the fastest, smoothest workflow that could keep up with our rapid building pace. So here's a GIF just to show some of the benefits of this workflow. You can see that we're comparing photos from the past, and it's a pretty powerful image seeing how much progress was made just with this one quick GIF. You can see that we can immediately jump to a location on our floor plan and get a powerful image of some of the progress we've made.
Hey, thanks, Maddie. This is Jeevan. So really quickly, you just saw a quick snapshot of what the interface looks like on your computer or on your phone. Real quick, how do you get those images? So with OpenSpace, we again focused on simplicity and ease of use. So here's how it works. You take an off-the-shelf 360 camera, the kinds you can get, at Best Buy or Amazon, pops onto a hard hat. You can pop it on and off just with a magnetic mount. And then our platform provides a phone application. You hit go, pretty much, and you walk the job like you normally would as part of your normal workflows. You upload that data to our cloud, and that's kind of where our magic happens. We have a bunch of computer vision technology that's based a lot on self-driving car tech. Basically, we can figure out, by taking that dumb video file from the camera, we can identify exactly where each image was taken while you're doing that walk and automatically pin it to the floor plan. We are pretty proud of this work. We patented it and everything. So once we do that, we make that data available to you on any device that you have. You can also, by the way, take notes, either text notes or close-up images with your smartphone while you're on a walk, and those images also get automatically pinned to the floor plan. So you both get the broad, complete Google Street View style output of your job and specific context images that are not lost or disorganized, but pinned in context. And we made sure that when we invested in this technology that it works all the time. There's no limits on how long you can walk or any of that kind of stuff. So we, again, wanted to make sure if we're going to do this, that it was incredibly easy to use on the job site. So that's how the data gets here and there in the first place with OpenSpace, and I'll hand it back to Maddie.
All right, so when we were exploring solutions for project documentation, with WeWork projects, one of the main concerns on nearly every project is schedule and speed. And one of the things we noticed with OpenSpace is that it is very fast to capture and process. So this was a huge factor when we were piloting the software. According to my pilot tests, we were nearly 4 times faster than our previous manual capture documentation process. And this includes fewer man hours spent on photo documentation. So that's the big point right there. We're not requiring our field teams to spend extra hours capturing the site. This was a much quicker process. And I'll also mention that with the OpenSpace Vision Engine, we're seeing extremely fast turnaround times. So we're seeing our captures in minutes instead of hours now. So we were excited to try this automated solution. Our previous solution was quite manual, and posting 360 photos one at a time was a pretty slow process. So we used to document sparsely and sometimes not at all on our larger projects. Now we're consistently documenting every week on all of our projects using OpenSpace, at least the ones that we've rolled it out on so far. So we're replacing manual documentation with automated passive photo documentation on a handful of projects now, and potentially on many more in the future, which is going to save our field teams potentially thousands of hours across those projects. So I'll pass it over to Grant to talk a little bit more.
Thanks, Maddie. We are really excited to kind of just share with you guys a little bit of how the Beck Group has been using this technology. I think Maddie explained it really, really well of just the benefits and value that we've seen from using the automation in the documentation process. It really is a neat opportunity for us because there are other workflows that we've seen that have been really increased in a lot of the quality of content that we use normally on a project site. And one of those being RFIs. That's a pretty typical workflow for many of you guys who are on the call, and just being able to provide a picture to help get a question answer has been really, really helpful. The reality of the fact of sometimes it's just something that you need to see, and when you're trying to get a picture around a question, it can be really, really helpful. So the things that we've seen the most value at has been being able to pull up those pictures, which we'll show you some examples in a second, and really the opportunity to bring in observation issues and reporting some of those issues as well. We're really excited about some of the new features that are coming out through ProCore, which we'll talk about a little bit later today. But the ability to look at those areas over a duration of time, especially towards the end of the project, has been something that you can imagine not having to walk out onto the job site, but to be able to access it from really any device has been a really huge value add to a workflow that we've been doing. And then owner updates are really huge too, with a lot of the high profile projects that we have been fortunate to work on. Keeping our client informed has been really, really important. And so sometimes they like to go onto the site and see those things specifically, but the ability to be able to provide that for them remotely as well has been a huge improvement to some of the workflows that we've been able to increase with using OpenSpace. And so what we wanted to do and show you next was really just what this looks like in action. So this is a project that we were working on here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's a new arena project called Vickis Arena that will be kind of the marquee arena for Fort Worth. And so the challenges that we really ran into was this is a really large project, and the ability to document it really well and consistently was a big challenge for us at the beginning of the job. And so what we're showing here is just some of the content actually pulled from this project. And what's really exciting about this is, we talked about it a little earlier, is that at the beginning of this job, we were really struggling to find a solution that was going to be able to keep up with our need and demand to document this project. And what we're really excited to talk about now is that we're capturing this job on a weekly basis, which we never would have really imagined possible at the beginning of the job. And so you're seeing here some of the features that Maddie talked about a little earlier, kind of the side-by-side comparison, our ability to kind of do the Google Street View walk that many of us are similar in use on just a normal Google Maps browser. But some of the other things that we really like are some of these other features that OpenSpace is continuing to put out here, which is kind of being highlighted on the left-hand side. We really do feel like this is a collaborative space for really all of our project team, both on the site and those that are not, to be able to come into. And so one thing that I really do like that's being popped up here is the ability to take a single shot from the capture that you were able to do. This is a great way to really show and share with someone specifically of something that you might be looking at from a job walk. And it gives the context of what's going on, obviously where it's at in space and the direction that it's looking. And you can add a note here and mark that up in a different software platform to kind of better help explain what's going on. This capture list is a really good way to keep us all organized of really when we're doing these captures. We can search for them by different levels and go through the different spaces that we want to go and look at more specifically. And so it's just a really simple and intuitive dashboard. I think with kind of the software exhaustion that some of our project teams have been maybe exposed to, this has just been a really refreshing way for our project teams to really have a very low barrier of entry on the training standpoint. And it's been really neat to see how much they've really taken on in using this platform just in the short amount of time that I feel like the onboarding process took. It's been really neat to see how much they've really used it and then improved those other workflows that we've gotten to see on other things that we just mentioned. And so field notes is one of those other things. We could talk about those for a while too, but the ability to capture more high resolution photos is really helpful as you're walking along and you see something that you may want to note. You can capture that with your phone and it'll automatically tag that in the site walk, which is just a really, really nice feature to go and have available for them to do as well. So one thing that we wanted to talk a little bit about as well was this ability to share the progress with the owner. This is something, again, we talked about as an improved workflow that we've really seen. And what's really nice about this is this new feature called shared folders. And what shared folders is really giving us the ability to do is to create different content specific folders for different people who we want to keep updated. And so the value to this is really giving kind of the limited view on different things and items that clients may be more interested in, or different subcontractors or different contractors on the project. And so what's nice about that is what you're seeing here is that you can specifically select certain walks that get uploaded to that folder for someone to be subscribed to. And then you can also do different things about specific views within that capture. And so the nice part to that is, let's say you only want to look at a specific area. So in this case, we're on the concourse floor or the main floor, looking at a specific area. You can go back to different walks and kind of see that progress and change over time. So it's just really helpful that you can either save the entire walk if someone's really curious about a certain area of the job, or you can just save a specific view, which is what we're going to be showing right here as well. And so it's just a really handy feature. I think this is going to be something that is really going to enable us to hone in a little bit more on the clients and really the collaborators who are in these projects to make sure that they feel even more cared for when it comes to what their most important items that they want to be looking at entail. And so we just wanted to show a little preview of what that is going to look like for those of you guys who maybe want to see things more specifically. So on this next slide here, really some of the best practices that we wanted to talk about. We feel like we're really continuing to kind of hone in on some of these best practices when it relates to who manages it and who actually goes out in the field, the frequency and some of the benefits that we've gotten. So from a department level, I kind of help oversee a lot of our different projects as it relates to documentation with technology. So I'm kind of managing the different projects, making sure that they feel well trained, well supported, really throughout the duration of the project. And so I kind of help onboard them to make sure that they feel like they are understanding what is going on and really taking it on and taking the ownership on the project level. And so I'll say this, I've done a lot of different technology training for different software platforms, hardware platforms, and by far this was one of the most simplest tools that I think that I've ever trained on. It was really fun to just be able to go out and give them a brief little intro within the job site office and then to have them hit the ground running out in the field. And so on the job site level, you can really have anyone go out and actually do the capture. What we found to be the most successful is to have someone who does it on a more frequent basis, or to have the same consistent person do it. One thing that we tried to do is kind of map out where our walk is going to be. And so the intention of that is to make sure that we're capturing an area in a consistent manner. And so we do have a team of about 3 or 4 people on this job specifically who know that route, kind of know the different areas of interest that would since change over time if there's different things and finishes that are being completed. But we do really have a core team of 3 or 4 people, and that could be anywhere from a project engineer to a superintendent or a safety staff who is actually capturing that out on the job. Frequency, I've mentioned a little bit before, we didn't really think that it would be possible that we could do this once a week or even multiple times a week. We go out and capture it on Monday before our subcontractor and owner meetings on Tuesday. And so that's something that we've gotten in a pretty good repetition on. We feel like the project team has been pretty consistent in that. And the benefit of that frequency is one thing we talk about often in our team here at the Beck Group is that the more that we can do this in a consistent manner and the more operational it becomes, the higher the value we see that the project teams pull out of using these tools. And so we really truly want to make it as operational as possible so that as they continue to go down this track, they're really reaping the value of some of the tools that they're using. And so we're just really excited to continue to push along with using this tool. We've been really thankful for the team at OpenSpace to kind of hear some of our feedback and some of the things that we're going to share here in a little bit as well. But with that, I am going to pass it back over to Maddie.
All right, thanks, Grant. So I want to share a little bit about what we're seeing at WeWork with OpenSpace and the 360 documentation. So first of all, we have a pretty robust reality capture ecosystem at WeWork, and we needed to figure out a way to fit 360 documentation into that ecosystem. Our previous solution didn't quite fit into the ecosystem. With this new solution, with the automation that we can see at OpenSpace, we're actually able to give more context to our laser scanning. It's provided us with the ability to capture in greater detail and in color every time we want to laser scan or anytime we have a due diligence walk. It provides us with a better solution than what we previously had, which was either laser scanning or photo capturing with just a photo camera or a phone camera. So why automated 360 documentation? So for us, I would say there's two big reasons here. The main one is speed of capture and processing. As I mentioned before, WeWork moves at a fast pace, and it's very important for us to keep up with that pace. So all of our solutions need to be moving quickly as well. And OpenSpace certainly can keep up with that pace as it's very passive. Most of it is automated, and it doesn't take too much of the time out of our field team day. I'll also add that it's easy to onboard for OpenSpace, which Grant mentioned before, and this is huge for us as well at WeWork. We have many locations where we would like to roll OpenSpace out on, and one of the big things for us is getting people onboarded and trained as quickly as possible and up and running as quick as possible, and that's one of the huge benefits that we've seen with OpenSpace. We also have, so we've run a pilot and we have a scaled rollout plan for 2020. I will mention that our pilot results were very positive. We saw about 33,000 additional square feet per hour that could be captured with the automated OpenSpace system compared to our previous system. So right off the bat, it's showing a lot of promise for our teams, and we're excited to roll it out on more projects. I also want to mention the Vision Engine. So recently there's been an upgrade to the processing, the back-end processing for the photo captures. Previously we were seeing, previously in our past process, we were seeing up to 24 to 48 hours of processing time. That really didn't work for us very well. Switching over to OpenSpace, we saw 4 to 6 hours of processing time, which is still better. We can get the results back in a day, but it wasn't great for our workflows. So now with the upgrade to the Vision Engine processing, we're seeing around 15-minute turnaround. And this has been awesome for us. It's just been rolled out on a few of our projects, and already our teams are seeing great benefits. This is going to allow us to more easily use the captured images and field notes for reporting issues and writing RFIs on the same day as the capture. And the capture previews are also a great way for ensuring adequate coverage of the space. So already our teams are really enjoying what they're seeing.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in to explain that. So obviously, as I mentioned before, speed is critical for really everybody in this industry. As Maddie mentioned, previous scanning techniques, whether they're with laser scanners or even with manual 360s, generally takes like a day or two to get those results. Not bad for managing long-term things like risk, but it's definitely not fast enough for managing the day-to-day job. So when we launched our system, we got that down to, as I said, 46 hours. And now with this update to the Vision Engine, it's 15 minutes. So how does that work? Basically, what we've updated our system to do is it learns now. So the more you use it, the faster it gets. So after that first walk, the second one will get a result much faster. And that 15 minutes, by the way, that's actual data. That's the average result. This has been rolled out on a number of our customers, and that's what we're seeing. So yeah, we're pretty excited about it, and we think it's important because, as Maddie said, you can start doing many more things with the data if you get it back. As long as it takes to go grab a cup of coffee after you've uploaded it.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I'd really just echo a lot of the things that have been said. We have a couple points here of just you obviously got to see a little bit of us using it in action, but the question really begs to ask of how and why we used the 360 documentation. It truly is the best way to do photo documentation on a project. I think many of us probably on the call or on projects that we've gotten to work on just miss the angle of a photo that we have taken in a traditional sense, whether that's with our phones or cameras back in the day. And so the 360 capture is obviously the best solution that's out there. And what's been really exciting is how much the hardware and software have kind of continued to move up and to the right in this kind of innovative way. And so when we started to look at just the kind of 360 space 2 or 3 years ago, there were some platforms that were out there that we got really excited about to really be able to tag those 360 photos to a floor plan pretty effectively, and quickly found out that it was definitely going to be the future using these different camera solutions. But the next roadblock that we ran into, and a lot of what Maddie has said earlier, is just the speed. When we are out on the job site, I would say photo documentation, while a very high priority, it often gets pushed to the wayside when it comes to just the frequency in which it's done. And so the ability to bring back in an efficient tool to use with a lot of what you've seen here with the solution that OpenSpace has provided us really got us excited about the kind of untapped potential that we didn't really think was possible with using 360 camera solutions. And so we've already touched on and mentioned the ease of use and learning curve. We really do have, I would say, a pretty stringent requirement when it comes to training that really truly has to be easy to use. Software exhaustion is a real thing. I'm sure many of you have experienced that in some way. And so to be able to give a team a tool that's very easy, it's very approachable, I think just continues the momentum from the excitement phase to the execution phase. And so that was something that we truly felt that this project at the arena was something that was needed because they had a felt need for the photo documentation, but just didn't have the right solution and workflow to do it. And so when we synced up with OpenSpace early on, we said, hey, this could be a really, really exciting need that could be fulfilled through using this platform. And so we were excited to see that continue on the project team level when they saw how easy it was to use and doing it on a consistent basis. And then taking that a step further, seeing a lot of our different staff on the project, as far as superintendents and safety staff that we have there as well, using it in other ways as well, that we said, hey, this could be a really helpful way for you guys to run your meeting minutes for your safety meetings or your subcontractor meetings. Typically, they would go out in a pretty traditional sense and use photos on their phone and put that into a PowerPoint presentation, and then spend some time in the back end on the office kind of organizing that content together. But when you kind of look at using OpenSpace versus the legacy method, it really truly does innovate and increase the effectiveness and efficiency on each of those different workflows. And so we have been just really, really excited and thankful to see a lot of these felt needs being met through using this tool. And I think the next felt need that we really see as a potential opportunity to improve as well is a video that I want to show you. This is going to be something that will be rolled out soon, and we're really excited as we've kind of been testing some of it, is really comparing the current state of the job site to the model. The model is something that gets spent a lot of time on the office side and really on the pre-construction side, and ensuring a lot of these elements will be installed correctly, but oftentimes the model isn't used as effectively during the construction phase. And so to check these different elements and verify that they're being installed correctly. And so this is a very heavy model, as you can imagine. And so this video you're seeing here is done and being viewed through a web browser, and you can see the speed in which things are being pulled up is really, really quick. But the nice thing in here is you can do all sorts of different things in the model that we're all used to in different senses, whether it's at our computers or not looking at it against job site documentation. But even having the model selection tree is a really huge value add, which is what you're seeing here. To be able to turn on and off different model elements is a really handy feature, because you may want to see what that the state of what you're looking at in the future is going to look like, but you also need to see what's behind that. And so even in this example here, we turned off some supporting roof structure, which were those towers, and then you can turn off these different generic models to kind of get an idea of what the space may look like in the future. And so similar to that Google Street View, which is what we were used to here, the model will move with you side by side, which is just really, really helpful. But then being able to take that really on any level. So if you wanted to go down to the main event level, you can do that and start to move around and navigate. And so this is just, I think, truly going to take the model workflow even further. We're always trying to find ways to get the model in front of our project staff in different and creative ways. And so the fact that they've already been using OpenSpace and getting familiar with that tool, and then providing the opportunity for them to come into the model space and compare what it's going to look like is really, really exciting. And so this example here, you can see obviously there's a ceiling element that's there that we would want to turn off and see what's behind it. And so you could hide that element to truly see the different elements that are being installed and if they are being installed in the correct way. And so this is just an example of that, and we could go through dozens of different places here in this example, but we are really, really excited. I think this is going to be not oftentimes do we use the word game changer, but this truly is a game changing thing for our field staff and project staff to really enable them to use this technology and compare it to a lot of the work that was put in on the coordination side in the office as well. So with that, I am going to pass it off to ProCore, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the integrations that they're building here.
Awesome, thanks. Jeevan, were you going to go through kind of the updates to the integration?
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to do that. And real quick on what Grant was just talking about with the BIM integration, we want to thank our friends at Autodesk for helping make this a reality. And like Grant mentioned, that's, it's the full model, and that's a big one. I think 800 megs or something like that, Grant. It's a big model. And so those aren't just like snapshots or pictures of the model. It's the real model. You can access it as just how Grant showed, turn layers on and off, everything you'd want to do in a pretty easy, simple way. So we're pretty excited about that. It accepts lots of different types of file formats. So again, we wanted to make it powerful, but also really simple. So I want to talk next a little bit about our continued integrations with ProCore. Now, we launched our first integration with ProCore last year, and these next wave is really focused on getting the data from the field into the workflows that people deal with every day. And so I'll talk about that a little bit here. So you can see in this image here, you have the job, you have some field notes there, and you see that link to ProCore in gray on one of those field notes off to the left-hand side there. What that lets you do is take that data and create things like RFIs or observations, or even link them to existing RFIs or observations that are in ProCore. And then you can fill out install information that you would typically do in ProCore right here. And then you fire it off. Now, then it's in ProCore. So this is a really simple and easy way to get that data from the field into these workflows. It was, as a short anecdote, I was talking to a gentleman who works at ProCore, and he said something pretty interesting. He's like, one of the things we do really well at ProCore is we capture the intent, what we're trying to do, what the teams are trying to do on the job. The drawings, all these things are the goals of the team. And what OpenSpace does, which is really special, is capture what is actually there. And so we think this is this integration allows us to link those two things. So we're pretty excited about it. And let me show you this other little video here, which allows you to access the full OpenSpace experience totally within ProCore. So what you're seeing here is, again, the OpenSpace environment, allowing you to see everything that's there. But as you'll notice at the top, you're still in ProCore. So it might sound like a simple thing, but not having to open up that tab really makes things easier. And of course, you can log into OpenSpace via your ProCore login. So we simplify that as well. Integrations, of course, are really important. We don't want to exhaust people with lots of different tools to log into. And this is just one way of making these things easier and more seamless.
One thing I'd love to add in here that's just really exciting too that we've kind of hit on is these were all ideas that we had kind of come up with from the beginning in using this platform. Beck Group's a pretty big ProCore user and worked with them on other developments across different software platforms and their API. And so we had kind of come to the table and said, how can we combine these two really powerful tools to start talking with each other? And so we got in touch with a lot of the development team at OpenSpace and just said, hey, this could be a really powerful solution if these two systems talk to each other in these different ways through observations and RFIs, and then even taking that a step further with what you saw with the integration in kind of the iframe within ProCore. Oftentimes, folks will kind of lose sight with getting logged in and different things like that. So we thought that was just a really neat and effective way to get more people into the documentation that we were using.
Awesome. And I guess we'll hand it over to Eric.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate the context, and we're really excited about the integration. Just wanted to give some background on ProCore for those of you that are new to ProCore, may not know what it's about. We're basically the largest cloud construction management platform used by subs, GCs, owners in a variety of ways, kind of from pre-construction all the way through closeout. So folks like Beck Construction are using things like quality and safety and project management and construction financials to sort of run the backbone of their projects. And a pretty key part of our strategy is opening up all of these tools to partners like OpenSpace. And so it's exposing processes like RFIs and observations, and then all of the collaborators that are on that project. So it's not just the tools, but it's all of the users and different subcontractors and different collaborators on that project that can then be also reflected in partner applications. So if there's one part that's really bringing the APIs together, the other would be, partnering with the most innovative companies in the industry. So we're really thrilled to be working with OpenSpace. And their timing has really been impressive. Jeevan and I spoke just over a year ago, and some of the unique approaches and intellectual property that OpenSpace is developing in photo documentation. And we chatted sort of the beginnings of that and the potential for an integration. And they kind of kicked off the beginnings of it late last year. And then in May of this year, they came down to our office in Carpinteria, California for our first partner summit and talked about some of the breakthroughs that you've seen today. And we at that time shared the ability for partners to be able to bring their apps and workflows directly into the ProCore interface. So it's exciting to see that OpenSpace jumped on that ability and is launching, within 2 months after it was announced, as you saw a second ago. So it's a really good use case to be able to view and reference and take action on this data without leaving ProCore, as Grant alluded to as well. So I'll just wanted to end with this visual that I think really outlines the value of the integration here, which is, I love what Jeevan said earlier around matching intent with reality. So in a world where everyone's really demanding data to integrate at ProCore on the platform side, we've been really trying to move beyond just solving for double entry in the ProCore ecosystem. I think that's what we see with a lot of integrations, and certainly from an embedded experience perspective, we've sort of become obsessed with completing actual workflows. So in the case of reality capture, when it's married with observations and RFIs, you end up with this complete workflow. So you have OpenSpace on one end that's doing some highly sophisticated work on the back end, that sort of powerful, simple balance, and serving up 360 photo documentation and field notes in sort of this highly relevant, organized fashion. And then on the ProCore side, you have the project backbone where assignment and resolution is happening. In the middle, OpenSpace has created this really nice handoff into both RFIs and observations, so that you can actually create, and you can create those within OpenSpace's application directly inside of ProCore. So not only can OpenSpace be embedded inside ProCore, but there's really highly thoughtful workflows, developed with customers like Beck, that can drive safer, higher quality, and more transparent projects. So we're really excited about this, and I'll go ahead and hand it back to you guys.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Eric. I guess I'll hand it to Maddie to talk a little bit about what to look for in these types of solutions.
Yeah. So at WeWork, we recently went through the process of figuring out what is the best solution to our photo documentation problems. So I'll go over a few of the things that we considered. So first of all, I would say first and foremost would be the speed of documenting. For us at WeWork, as I mentioned multiple times, speed is everything, the schedule is everything. And if these solutions can't keep up with our fast pace, then we have to find a new solution. So that was probably our first consideration. Next, and closely related, is the turnaround time. How quickly can we get this information back into the hands of the people that can use it? And we're noticing that turnaround time is getting faster and faster with OpenSpace. So we've been pleased to see that. Some of the capabilities of the solution that we need to question: how passive is the workflow? Can you walk with an unlimited amount of time per floor? So these are some of the things that we didn't see so much of in the other solutions. And this was definitely a big factor for ease of use and onboarding a large amount of people in as fast a time as possible. Another consideration was the scalability of the system. So can it technically scale? Can we roll this out and not see server crashing or not see information loss? Learning curve: how quickly can someone be successful with the solution? How quickly can we teach someone to teach someone else how to use it? With this automated solution at OpenSpace, we've seen this be a solution that's extremely easy to teach. Our field teams have been catching on very quickly and seeing the benefits immediately after beginning to use it. Another consideration, which I think fits right into what Eric was talking about, is our workflow. Does it integrate with our existing systems? This is a big one for us. It's probably a big one for every GC. Nobody wants to overhaul their entire workflow just to bring in a new solution. They would prefer that the solution fits nicely into the existing workflow. And with OpenSpace, we definitely see that, especially with the integrations. And then obviously, cost is a huge factor here for both the solution and the labor cost, the time that we're taking to actually use the solution.